All right. Working on this little lake painting, Osprey. Pretty much just focusing on the water down here right now. Got my paints here. So you don't need like a fancy palette or anything. I usually just grab a paper plate. And the good thing about the paper plate when you're doing acrylic is you can just peel it right off of the plate. Sure, there's some little places like here, but I found like this palette that I have, like the paint is totally welded on there. It's like it's almost impossible to get it off of the acrylic palette. It's bound to it. Whereas whereas you get a paper plate with this sort of it has this sort of coating on it. You could just peel the acrylic paint right off of it and keep reusing it over and over again. So little paint tip there. So right now I'm working on the water down here for this lake. So what I've got here is I'm making like a scene with these. I've got three osprey here, like they're sort of swooping down on the lake and grabbing fish like they're hunting in a pack. Of course, osprey don't do this, but this is my painting, so I can do whatever I want with it. And then when I'm done with it, I don't know if you can see on here. So I've got it marked off in a circle. So I'm going to cut this off in a circle shape. And I've got some more things I'm doing with it. But with AI come about and everything, it's going to come to pass, that the age of just making something where you've moved paint or manipulated uh, pixels or paint, and that's the end game, just to do a scene sort of thing, a visual scene. I think that as far as the big picture with that, the ship has kind of sailed with AI because anything can be made with it. So, and then you have the metaverse, that sort of VR setting where it's people's phones and devices house more personal and valuable things to them than even their homes. I was listening to something, and they were talking about, oh yeah, it was the pillow guy, Mike Lindell. His phone was confiscated, and we were talking about how you know taking your phone and going through it is even more of an encroachment, just about, of your privacy than if someone was to go through your home. It's like you have more personal information and stuff on your phone nowadays than just like in your in a random drawer that you would keep all that stuff previously. And so with that kind of idea, the future of artworks, people are always going to make art because people make art even without the expectation of financial gain behind it. People just do it because art is an enjoyable aspect. But the idea of making it like as a commodity for other people, I don't know, that is dicey, especially when people are looking to VR and the sort of metaverse, because when you're just talking about manipulating pixels around, then and yet I can just go on to Midjourney or something, type in a few things of kind of what I want, and I can get it right there, then the need for a skilled laborer is kind of out the window. The ship has kind of sailed. So if you're making art in the real world space, then I think the second part of what we generally think, you think of arts and crafts time. Well, I think crafts really has to become a part of it, uh, part of your part of your situation. The craft, the tangible, human making, real world part needs to become a part of your repertoire. I think not just a visual scene, but making it an experience that sets what you're doing apart from what can just be done with some keywords and a printer. You have to add another element, I think, of an experience that is unique, that you can't get. Like I've said in previous ones, when the photograph, when the camera first became sort of a main thing back in the 1800s, you had painters that are realizing that this thing is going to take my job because now the portrait artist, of course, we still do portrait paintings now. I think it's more of tradition based, but there is something enjoyable about a nice painted portrait, and perhaps that just harkens back to you know we look at history and we see that historically that was something that was special for nobility and whatnot. But so back then you had like artists like I've mentioned James Abbott McNeill Whistler, who saw that this device is going to capture reality better than we can, and so it's our job to do something different that it can't. And I think with AI, I think people in the art space need to realize that this thing can do what you can do as a digital artist, and even as a real world tangible space artist. What can be done with a computer and a printer now. Wait, what the hell did my what can be done with a computer and a printer now? It's you can match it. You can match what you're doing here. Even with the paintings that I do, I have an impasto tactility that I like to employ on the painting just because it sets it apart in my mind. It's one more layer that sets it apart and says, this wasn't just printed. This is a piece that was worked on. But with the right printers, like, you can still fake this. Like if you go into like a Hobby Lobby or something, you'll see all those mass-produced, ready-made prints that were originals by someone at one point, but it shows the capability of a printer to produce something that recreates all these impasto raised areas. So it's like a painting almost. So there's got to be another layer of your craft to set you apart. Of course, you can do whatever you want, and it will get silly. It's always been silly. in my blog, you know, I've talked about the people doing anything from filling cans with supposed feces to, and of course, you've got the crucifix and the urine and the trash, all those articles about the cleaning crews in the in the museums that throw away an installation because they thought it was garbage. Oh, and they're not wrong. Those crack me up. So anyway, this was just a short dive in here because I feel like sometimes you have to document that the piece was worked on and show the process a little bit. And rather than filming the entire thing and putting it all together as a quickie, as a speed through, I just thought I would jump in here, yap for a minute, and just show how every dot is done. Every little marking. Anyway, that's that. How do I turn this off?